What happens in Georgia gets revealed one by one as the facts are unsealed. From the pit comes what they don't want you to see. When the daily nugget of truth is dropped with your host, BKP.
Welcome, BKP Politics. I'm your host, BKP. Monday, spring forward, right? How are you guys doing with that, right? How are you doing with that? Do you like it when it's going to be light outside at 8:30 and, starting to warm up? I tell you what I really like is I like knowing that we're just this close to the Georgia 2026 legislative session being over. The damage, we will have to try to start looking at the damage they've caused. All right, folks, I am your host, BKP. You're watching BKP Politics on voiceofrural.america.com. Don't forget our Substack, Vora, V-O-R-A, at BKP Politics, and X, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, voiceofrural.america.com. Now, wow. So, this is one of those days where I'm wondering exactly, where do you start? Okay, I think I know. Well, Saturday I went down to Rick Jackson was at Appalachian Gun and Pawn in Jasper, Georgia. That's Pickens County, Jasper, Georgia. That's the 11th district. The 11th district used to be in the 9th and 14th. Then it was in the 9th. Now it's in the 11th. But anyhow, a very red, ruby red district. And Rick Jackson, he was there Saturday morning at a breakfast in downtown Jasper. Then he made his way over to Appalachian Gun and Pawn. Most of the politicians are coming, they come over to Appalachian Gun and Pawn now. And let's get started here. But, did you get this? I've got this, right? This is like a newspaper. Look at the size of this thing. It's got Donald Trump, President Trump's partner. I mean, and I will tell you this. I was there Saturday. He's a very nice guy. And he's got an amazing story. But after he talks about his story, which is it's absolutely amazing. I think he's a good guy, but after you hear about his alcoholic mother and foster home and what he went through to become a millionaire in the greatest country in the world, when you start getting into policy. So we're going to talk about that because I took some video Saturday. I videoed. I'm going to give him an A on this because I followed a lot of campaigns. I mean, when I followed Kelly Loeffler's campaign, she would not take any questions. No questions. There's a lot of campaigns that they really shield the candidate. But I will have to say he stood right up there, and no matter what anyone asked in the crowd, he took the question. So I have to give him an A for that being accessible to the crowd. But let's start on the beginning of the day Friday. SB 568. Now, at the beginning of the day Friday, people were excited about SB 568. And contact your Georgia senators. Voter transparency, ballot security, stronger audits and recounts, public election data. Email your senator and demand action. Save Georgia's elections. Okay. Now, this bill was put on the floor, and it was introduced by Greg the Weasel, Wonder Boy, Bunny Ears, Dolezal. Now, I didn't do the Bunny Ears. I didn't do that, okay? The AJC put that out, not the BKP. But anyhow. So, I talked to a lot of people, and I said, look, this is not going to make it over to the House. I mean, the word is John Burns doesn't want it. Don't send it. Governor Kemp doesn't want it. Now, you have to remember, in Georgia, a bill today is only as good as what Governor Brian Kemp has already told the House and the Senate that he would sign and he'll accept. That's the way it works. So, just telling you, like, this is how it happens. So, you know, John Burns and Burt Jones, they don't jihad. They don't jihad. So anyhow, this is how the day started. Now, here is, I did this. This is AI generated. I did this. I put the bunny ears. Remember the story. The AJC, right? A member of the state house handed Greg Dolezal a gift that happens to be a pair of bunny ears about a website. Just saying. So Greg Dolezal, he is all in on this political stunt, SB 568. Now, I'm going to cover some things today that's going to be upsetting to many of you. I don't mean to do that, but I will not come on this air at any time and not tell you the truth. So let me fast forward a little bit because I'm reading all the social media, and we'll get to Frank Ginn. And Frank Ginn is the guy that people love to hate. We'll just put it like that. I don't care for Frank Ginn at all. He has an opponent. He'll probably get beat this time. He's over there somewhere around the Athens area. He's in the 10th district. Somewhere he's a state senator. But a lot of social media narrowed this down to the boogeyman, the bad man, Frank Ginn. Let me ask you a question. Why would Burt Jones, who presides over the Senate, and I want to be clear, there's too much inaccuracies on social media. Burt Jones can call what he wants to the floor when he wants it on the floor. Burt Jones can send a bill to committee and put his weight behind it. He can get it out of committee. I mean, that's a powerful seat. There's 3 powerful seats in the state of Georgia. The Speaker of the House, John Burns. Some would argue it's the most powerful. But the Lieutenant Governor's office presiding over the Senate chamber, and the Governor Brian and Marty Kemp. So, now, moving right along, why did that bill go on the floor at 10:30 at night? Why? Why did Burt Jones hold that bill till 10:30 at night? Why didn't Greg Dolezal go in and say, hey, Burt, I think they're on first name basis. Bert, you leaving me hanging out here? Because, see, I know who wrote this bill. I know who participated in writing this bill. I know who crafted it. So why didn't he go in there and say, Bert, you're leaving me hanging here. What are we doing 10:30 at night? So we have the stunt man, the stunt bunny. We have Greg the stunt bunny. Now, here is the vote. 27 yeas and 21 nays. So again, I'm going through social media and people are saying this happened and that happened. But we stay with, why was it on the floor at 10:30 at night? You know why? It was never going to happen. You know why? It was never intended to go to the House. You know why? Well, so as you can see in the vote here, you have Ginn voted no, bottom corner. But then you have Hofstadler, is that his name? Hofstadler? And Hatchett excused. See, the E means they're excused, okay? Then you have Kilpatrick, and you have Watson, Sam Watson, excused. Now, the 53rd is vacant right now. That's Colton Moore's seat. That's in a special election. 53rd is vacant. So, Watson's excused. All right, Kilpatrick's excused. Hofstadler's excused. And Hatchett's excused. 4 Republican votes. Now, I'm not saying the lieutenant governor denies them their request, but when there's an E up there, the lieutenant governor is aware that they won't be there. It's not like they're a no-show. Hey, where did they go? They have been excused from this vote. All right? Now, Democrats are enjoying it. Horrible election denier bill fails on Senate floor. Even Republicans don't want this. Now, Burt Jones's office, because we won't get into some other names, there's people that work in there along with the lieutenant governor. Burt Jones's office knows that Sam Watson and Bo Hatchett are leaving at 4 o'clock. They know that. See, they're well aware that they're losing 2 votes, Republican votes, Sam Watson and Bo Hatchett at 4 o'clock. They also know that Chuck Hofstadler and Kay Kilpatrick are leaving at 8. Now, I don't have a timestamp. These are the times that we understand they left. They also know they were leaving at 8. And they also know Frank Ginn is a no, and they put it on the floor at 10:30 at night. No, they didn't put it on the floor at 10:30 in the morning, where if they had to wrangle some votes or something like that, or whip some votes. You see, they whip votes out in front before they put a bill on the floor. Generally, unless they're sending a message to the other chamber or to someone, leadership won't put a bill on the floor unless they have the votes. Generally, they won't. This bill never had the votes. In my humble opinion, it was never meant to cross over. You see, they've been in session for several weeks. This bill could have been crafted and ready to go before the session started. it could have been on day 3 or day 4, debated on the floor, headed to committee. It could have already been voted by 5 or 6 days before crossover and sent to the House. Or they could have known well in advance what they had to do to get it to pass and go to the House. But no, the people you feel you rely on to do the right thing, put it on the floor at 10:30 at night. You see, let me explain this to where even everyone should be able to understand. Let me put this into terms, not trying to be arrogant, but see, here is the simplest way we could put it. Now, Lucy is telling Chuck, that would be Charlie Brown, I promise this time. Lucy's saying, Charlie Brown's saying, not again. You're not getting me this time. Not again. Don't worry, Chuck. I promise. I promise. Not again. So once again, Chuck says, you know what? All right, Lucy. And Chuck once again falls on his ass. That's the simplest way I can put it. I don't have any other way to, deliver it to you. You see, Lucy's at 10:30 at night. Finally got Chuck convinced. Go ahead, vote. And there's Chuck. Once again. Now, they're going to tell you they're working on some bills over in the House, and they're doing this and they're doing that, but SB 568, you see, I did not attempt to kick that football. Many of you know that. Many of you have called me. I mean, it's even been said, hey, have you, are you not supporting us? What do you mean am I not supporting you? Oh, so you want me to go all in and do a show and be excited and call my senators? You see, I called my senators. I was first vice chair of the Georgia Republican Party. I called my senators. I called leadership. I worked SB 189 until midnight. Some of you know that out there. And then I was part of the next day when we started saying, we moved the ball down the field. No QR codes. But as I said here today, there will be QR codes because there's been no funding to remove the QR codes. So I'm going to show you one more thing on these bills, because I'm going to tell you they're going to, by the way, they're going to lie to you. Got it? This is what they're going to do. They're going to lie to you. You see, Trump asked for paper ballots. Northwest Georgia senator files bill to remove electronic voting machines. That's March 5th of 2025, approximately just under a little over a year ago. And a Northwest Georgia senator has filed a bill that would require the state to use hand-marked, hand-counted paper ballots. You see, that was Colton Moore last year, and it's SB 303. So why don't they're going to give you all these reasons. You're going to have all of these reasons. But when the legislative session started, because the bill's good for 2 years, when you file a bill, it's live for 2 years. It's active for 2 years. Wherever it was left, you could pick it right back up. So this bill's sitting there last year, SB 303, sitting there from last year, right? Why not add on to it, tag all the other things to it? Why not have it ready to go on day one? It's sitting there, already filed. Why craft another one? Why do it and wait till 10:30 on crossover night to get it on the floor for a vote? Hero status. Political stunt. SB 303, I don't care what they tell you. That bill's still sitting there. Oh, you will hear them tell you that you'll hear them make up several reasons why. Oh, we always want to remind you, there's Burt Jones and Josh McCoon, right? Georgia GOP chair. They could have. They've had years together that they could have completed correcting our elections in Georgia. But no, they haven't. So here, this went down. That's good. We'll just give you this real quick. The sports betting went down. It will come back soon, but the sports betting went down. And then one more I want to go over here. This is the Georgia House. We haven't stopped fighting for taxpayers crying for property tax relief. This gets me. It really does. When Democrats obstructed a plan to dramatically lower property tax with voters' approval, we kept pressing. Really? Tonight, on near unanimous party lines, House Republicans delivered legislation that caps property tax increases at 3%. What did Yogi Berra say? It's like deja vu all over again. Wasn't that SB 581? I mean, somewhere I think that happened. Cap 3% and require local governments to provide written notice to tax increases by mail to every parcel owner. That'll show them. Read the fine print and see what the ACCG, the GMA, and the Georgia State School Board Association had to say about this. Now, so Saturday, let's get into some politics. So here is Rick Jackson down at Appalachian Gun and Pawn Saturday. Nice guy. Now, a couple things. Keep in mind, I study politics. I don't carry a politician's water. I don't take sides. I look at everything about the candidates. And I went to this guy's campaign kickoff. And I'm going to play a video for you because when I say this is where he got me, because I'm not supporting Rick Jackson today. I'm not supporting Burt Jones. In fact, I have not found the candidate that I have decided I will vote for. I have not. Hasn't happened yet. But let me tell you where Jackson really got me to start paying attention. And then the last couple weeks, he really put Burt Jones back on his heels. This is where Jackson got me to pay attention. And get ready right here. Hold on.
If you've ever felt the system was rigged, that's because it is. The political class protects itself. The media protects them. And the lobbyists prop up the whole thing. It's a cartel. And I'm coming to break it up. If you've ever felt the system was rigged, that's because it is. The political class protects itself. The media protects them. And the lobbyists prop up the whole thing. It's a cartel. And I'm coming to break it up. If you've ever felt
Okay, so that is I was on the podium in the back of the room. I was on the podium in the back of the room when he said that, okay? And that got me right there. That I'm like, okay. It's rigged? Yes, it is. I liked everything about that. It's the political class, a corrupt political class. The media prop it up. The lobbyists prop it up. It's a cartel. That right there, I was in the room. So I went to his campaign kickoff, right? I went to his campaign kickoff. I was in the room, and I heard him say that. I said, that got me right there. Because I think, well, I know for a fact, we have to bring down the entire political cartel, the industrial election complex here, political complex. It's got to be brought down. I want to crumble the whole thing. That's where the guy got my ear. Now, so here he is Saturday. I'm going to give him credit. His marketing brought out, we'll go with 100, okay? Now, a couple weeks ago, Appalachian Gun and Pawn. A couple weeks ago, Burt Jones was there, and maybe about 12 people. He had about 100 people there. Now, as we get into, he goes out on the road and he starts to talk to voters, all the things that he says he wants to do, now it's time to say, how do you do that? And he's only been doing this for 4 weeks. But there are some things that if he wants to tell me, okay, if he wants to send this to me in the mail, and he wants me to see Georgia's biggest Trump supporter launches bid for governor, okay, that's what he tells me if I get the newspaper. All right, he tells me that. Then the middle is basically his entire story, right? Personal story. Then he says, President Trump's partner. Not only is Rick Jackson Donald Trump's biggest political supporter in Georgia, he took action for the United States considering he bought a pharmaceutical company to make amoxicillin. Okay. Now, he gave President Trump $1 million. Now, I have been told, I don't know this, but I've been told it's for the ballroom. That's what I've been told. I'm not for sure. Can't validate that on the screen right this minute. But he gave President Trump the $1 million this past December. And we're finding people out there doing research, finding it tough to see his public support for President Trump during his first administration, 2016. We're not finding in research him coming out in the 2020 election and making any public comments or public support for President Trump there. So he has to answer that. But if you're going to send me something telling me you're Trump's biggest partner and number one supporter, someone on your staff needs to keep up with what President Trump says are the most important things to him and saving the democracy, as they say, saving our election saving this country. Maybe someone should keep up with that. Now, so I go there Saturday, and I'm going to play a couple things for you. And this morning, Burt Jones's campaign is punching back a little bit. They're punching back. They released a website, slickrickjackson.com. Oh yeah, they're pushing back a little bit. Now, with Rick Jackson, I went to the kickoff. I went to Saturday, for the most part, Saturday, senior citizens, an older audience, okay? I'm not for sure how he's going to do down the road with young voters, young female voters. Now, whether you like this or not, people are out there, they look at this data, they run the numbers, and they look at where candidates are popular. Hispanic voters, right? Is he going to do well with Asian voters? Is he going to do well with black voters? I'm just saying. So that's yet to be seen how he will do well. Now, there's some polling out there, and it continues to be all over the map, and he tends to show up pretty well in the polling, and I'll show you this right here. But there's two ways to look at this. Burt Jones, in this particular poll, he shows up 37, Burt Jones 22, and Brad Raffensperger 11, Chris Carr 4. So right now, what Rick Jackson has really done is purchase name recognition. He really has. And a lot of people, believe it or not, not everybody knows the lieutenant governor of the state of Georgia. They don't. Burt Jones is going to have to put some money out, believe it or not, just to get some name recognition and get it out of the circle of the Republican circle. Seriously, believe that or not, he'll have to do that. This doesn't look good on Burt Jones. His name recognition should be higher. But right now, people are gravitating to Jackson. It's a shiny new penny, whether you like the way I put that or not. It's a shiny new penny. How will he do over time? How will he do over, as people look deeper into things or look for some substance in some of the things he says? And I'm going to show you that. So I went over Saturday because, hey, if he's going to go out, he's going to put his name out there, it's time for him to start explaining how he's going to do things. I told you earlier in the show, I give him an A for taking any question. So here, I just went through and picked out a couple of these. Jackson for governor, Jackson's action plan, protect Georgia children. Okay, I like that. Jail anyone who performs sex change surgeries on children. Okay, think we can all agree with that. Stop woke ideology and ban reverse discrimination. Okay. Ban ideology indoctrination in schools. Ensure boys do not compete in girls' sports or use girls' bathrooms or locker rooms. Strengthen Georgia's Parents' Right Bill of Rights. Now, I don't doubt he feels this way, but I can tell you right now, this is a political team that's done polling. And I'll tell you why. Because he made a comment Saturday about something that does not show up in their research. And when I spoke to one of their campaign people and I brought a couple things up, they said that's not in our polling data. or our research data. That's not issues. Okay? So what has happened here? This is what research data that they're putting together, and these are political statements. And I think, the guy, this is how he feels. But he's going to have to start saying, on day one, I want on my desk, or on day one, I'm going to sign a governor's power executive order, or day one, I want the lieutenant governor and the speaker of the House in my office. Now, in the past, let me say this. In the past, all right, the governor would have a pre-legislative breakfast with your speaker of the House and your lieutenant governor. They would have a pre-legislative breakfast, all right? And they would talk about some things they'd like to see happen by the end of the session. Why don't you go find out in the last 5 or 6 years how many pre-legislative breakfasts has Brian and Marty held before the session to get Burns, Burt Jones, and the governor and Marty Kemp all on the same page. Why don't you go see that? So these are things he's going to have to start coming out with. He will eventually have to start saying, look, when elected in November, I got November, December, then it's time to go. I'm going to have these meetings. We're going to talk about this. These are some of the bills I want on my desk. Okay. Then I pulled out another one here. I'm just going to go over a couple. Here is Jackson, Governor, temporary restraining order granted against Burt Jones Leadership Committee. Now, he got a restraining order against the Leadership Committee, so Burt Jones could not use that money during the primary. I want to know if he's going to end this, because when he tells me, this is my structure, rigged, political class, media, lobbyist, a cartel. So you and I both know campaign finance. I mean, we got state senate races where they've spent $1 million. That's right. So he's bringing $50 million into the game. But I think what Rick Jackson should do, or look to do, if this right here is serious, he should bring down this campaign finance to the point where either you have all these lobbyists buy an election, or you buy one out of your own pocket. But Mr. Smith can't go to Atlanta. So I just want to say these are action items. All right, now one more. Jackson for governor. If we don't cut income tax in half and freeze property tax, I won't run again. Okay. How do you do that? Because he was asked some questions. Now this is very bold. Now you and I both know, and I'm going to show you that you and I both know that property tax and state income tax, we cannot grow our way into cutting your taxes. You're going to hear that without reducing spending. So he's going to he can't just say, I won't run again. These statements like this right here, he needs to start saying how he's going to do it. See, I'm not the one making these statements. Now, another thing is he's making all these statements, or his team is, before he goes out on the road. So if you're going to make all these statements, and you're going to say you're President Trump's top partner, then your answer can't be, well, I've only been doing this for 4 weeks. Well, these are some of the things that you said in starting out your campaign. President Trump's agenda. Make Georgia #1 for criminal deportations. Partner with ICE. No sanctuary cities. Okay. I get it. Now, so Saturday, and I want to go here, I want to remind you of something before we start. So President Trump put out, this is recent, America's elections are rigged, stolen, and a laughingstock all over the world. We are either going to fix them or we won't have a country any longer. I am asking all Republicans, not a certain one, to fight for the following. So, what I really see, well, Rick Jackson's going to have to stop putting his picture with Trump so much if he's not following what President Trump is saying is a priority to him. I'm just putting it out there. Now, Burt Jones's campaign is pushing back. So, Burt Jones's campaign's got a lot of trouble in its own. So it's got a lot of trouble in its own. Now, I'm going to go through one at a time, and then I'm going to break some things down for you. Let me go. I pulled out like 5 or 6 questions that he was asked Saturday. So one at a time.
But look, taking action, everybody will talk. I hope they will do some things down there this year to do some of the things, but we have to freeze the property taxes. I can't tell you how many retired people have come to me that have owned their house for 30 years and are now going to have to sell because of their property taxes have gone up. We cannot have those kind of things. Obviously, we need to slash the income tax, and we just need to have common sense. We can't be passing bills just because somebody gave me money. I mean,
all right, so he says, got to freeze property tax slash income tax, right? Got to do it. Have to do it. Now, his story, I can't say enough, is absolutely amazing. But I hear he lives in one of the largest homes in Forsyth County. It's like a $50 million estate. That's what I hear. I don't know that. I can't validate the number. I'm not attacking him for being successful. Not at all. Not attacking for being successful. But, he's 71 years old. His growing up without parents, all right? Growing up without parents, and growing up without parents in foster care, actually, he has been successful to where property tax and things like that, he may be, maybe he doesn't forget where he comes from, but he may be a little out of touch recently because he's not struggling with the same things you and I are struggling with. So I'm going to keep going. This is going to keep going. Remember, property tax. So go one more.
all right, last one here. Since he's a vet, I'm going to let him.
All right, so you advocate getting rid of the income tax, and in order to do that, you're going to have to make up that income someplace. Typically, that looks like it's going to be a sales tax.
Right.
And sales tax hurts the poor more than it hurts the middle class and wealthy.
I don't think you have to do the sales tax. So in business, the way you make more money is you increase revenue or decrease expenses. we have to decrease expenses, and there's a lot of waste there, especially with these federal programs that are matching us and so forth like that, whether it's Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, all those kind of things. So we can reduce expenses. But the way I would increase revenue is not through taxes in an alternative form. I would bring business here, just like I was talking about the farm. Those guys, we have to grow GDP. If we can grow the state's GDP by 4%, keep our overhead down, within 4 years, we have the ability to reduce half of our taxes just based off of those two things right there. So that's what I'm going to do. I want to grow out of it, and we're going to do it responsibly. I mean, one of the things that Brian Kemp has done is a fantastic job of doing this in Georgia, and I like his approach of reducing taxes too, is through evolution, not revolution. And so we need to do it responsibly, but I think it requires a business growth in order to offset that. And we just start, as it grows, we start bringing down taxes for personal income taxes and so forth like that. So, all right.
Let's go with the back part of that. Brian Kemp has done a fantastic job. He wants to bring business in. He wants to bring business in with the GDP in Georgia at 4% growth. I want to grow the state of Georgia. I don't want to bring business in quite as much as I want to allow and put things in place for our businesses to grow. We'll put it like that. SK Battery just cut 1,000 jobs. All right. So anytime you bring these businesses in, you risk. SK Battery just cut 1,000 jobs. The movie industry, Marvel industry, is leaving. Thousands of jobs are leaving Georgia. Okay. And when he says Brian Kemp did a fantastic job, he cannot grow his way out of and cut taxes when you have a governor that, spent $10 billion. Brian Kemp's budget went up $10 billion over 8 years. He just put his supplemental budget, right? His budget to complete 2026 or up to July, another 12.5% increase, spending like crazy, not a fiscal conservative anywhere at all. And I don't want a fiscal Brian Kemp to continue on in Georgia. So, when he says that, and Brian Kemp did a fantastic job, wants to get overhead down, okay. All right, so let's go with another one.
Thank you very much for coming out. We're not going to have that kind of stuff here. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Jackson.
This Rick.
I've been a homeowner for over 50 years. I worked for 54 years. I moved to Georgia 8 years ago to be with my family because I'm your age or older. The deal is, we're always talking about prices of homes as far as taxes are concerned. And I agree that we've come a long way in the 8 years I've been here. But the 8 years I've been here, not one person can answer the question why we don't have control over the fire districts. Cherokee County, where I live, is one of the fastest growing counties in the state. And our tax rate, I paid $1,200 or $1,300 a year for taxes, just for fire taxes. At 77 years old, I can't afford that on a fixed income.
Right.
And there's nobody who wants to address it. And I know that I first of all don't want to piss the firemen off.
I don't either.
But the deal is,
Or policeman with a gun over there.
well, I take the policeman anytime, because I think he's going to be
Yeah, he's
behind
gonna
the back.
protect you,
He's
yeah.
going to be with me. The fire department, I question, because if you ride down Main Street in Woodstock, there's more fire vehicles at that headquarters than you could drive home in a year. But nobody wants to address it, and that's what I'm saying. As a senior citizen, are we ever going to address that issue?
Well, first of all, I must admit I'm ignorant on that issue related to that county, so I'm not sure who controls that. I assume that it's the county somewhere. Now, by the way, just a tip. I have a fire place, a fire engine in Forsyth County that lives next to my property, and I take Krispy Kreme donuts over there about once a week because I hope they'll come to my house first. But anyway, so I don't know the answer to that as I'm sitting here right now. I'm not going to BS you with one from that standpoint. But I feel your pain. That seems ridiculous to pay that much money for fire service and so forth. So that's a county. Look, in 2018 to 2023, our cost of living went up 21%. Property taxes in Georgia went up 44%. All I know, I don't believe that every county in Georgia overhead went up 44% during that time. And I even asked somebody earlier, well, what happens if the value of your homes don't go up? And there was a county commissioner, and she said, well, we just have to make do with our budget. I said, thank you. I agree with that. So, yes, sir. Back.
All right, so I'm not here today to get into an argument with the fire and police and the sheriff and so forth. I'm not interested in that. I don't have to say it. That guy did. And what he's trying to say is, you know, we hear about you wanting to cut taxes. And we hear about you wanting to cut profit, but it's got to come from somewhere. And the guy says, I drive by Main Street, Woodstock. You can't get another truck there, right? And I'm not gonna knock the guy, but when you say, well, I'm kind of ignorant on who controls that. Well, you know what? I'm going to say this. Mr. Jackson is paying way too much money. And I know he's only been out there 4 weeks, but if you're going to go out there and take those questions, you're paying way too much money for a staff not to have some of these answers. Because you keep putting out flyers, you keep slamming the mailbox full, saying, if you don't, see, I didn't say this. And I'm not attacking anyone. So I'm not putting up with anybody's bullshit that comes back after me. But I'm not the one out there saying, if I don't cut your taxes, if I don't cut your property taxes, I'll quit. I won't run again. I'm not doing that. So if you're going to make that kind of statement, let's find out, because this guy's 100% right. You see, most people in Georgia know that you can't do this because what they never do, and I'm not talking about Mr. Jackson, I'm talking about the people already in office. They talk about, well, he said he's 77 years old. Right? I see it all the time. They'll end up trying to cut taxes for 65 and older, and that's great. Other than what'll happen is they'll provide ways for the county, the city, the Board of Education to shift the tax burden. I mean, I understand if the guy stands up there and says, look, I'm going to tell you how we're going to do it, because everyone in the state of Georgia is going to take a 10% cut. Because what did he just say? Cost of living went up, what? What did he say, 21% or whatever? And property tax went up 44%. He said it, I didn't. So somebody have the guts to stand up there and say, look, I'm going to tell you how we're going to reduce property tax. I'm going to tell you how we're going to reduce sales tax, or income tax in Georgia. Everybody's taking a 10% cut. Wow. That things got quiet after that. I'm just saying, all right? Guy says he's 77 years old. He can't pay the bills anymore. Now, let's break down one or two more.
What about insurance costs?
On ours, we're not gonna do that, period. Yes, sir.
What do you feel about the Dominion machines?
The Dominion machines, I don't know I'm not gonna BS you, okay? I don't know, but what I do know is if they're a problem, we're gonna replace them. I just don't have any evidence or any information on them. Like, I've been doing this 4 weeks, so I don't know everything yet, so I appreciate it. Yes, sir. It even said that I couldn't do business with the federal government, or otherwise I couldn't run. Totally unconstitutional. It even said that I couldn't do.
I admire he says he's only been out there 4 weeks. I've got so many things here that says, all right, let me show you this. American elections are rigged, stolen, and laughingstock all over the world, right? President Trump put this out not long ago. I know you won't be able to read it on the screen. I'm going to lead a movement to get rid of mail-in ballots, and also, while we're at it, highly inaccurate, very expensive, and seriously controversial voting machines. All I'm saying is, when you say you haven't seen any evidence, if there's a problem when someone says Dominion, look, I can understand the guy's only been in there 4 weeks, but it's coming across to me that he doesn't have anyone in the campaign that is in touch with Ruby Red Georgia. And I made this statement to his staff. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to go into great detail, but I went to his staff, okay? And I said, you know, I understand if you're in some areas, but you're in Pickens County. You're in Jasper, Georgia. You go further up in the Gilmer and the Fannin and the Union, right? There were people come out of Union County. There was like 4 people that drove down from Union County. And a couple of the comments he made, they were like, I like what I'm hearing, but, seriously. He gets over in the 14th district. He gets up around Catoosa, Walker, list goes on. He goes to South Georgia. He gets down around Grady. I'd hate for him, and I'm going to use a name. I'm going to get in trouble here. But I'd hate for this guy to go down to South Georgia and bump into Tim Waters. Don't bump into Tim Waters, whatever you do. Steer clear. Because these answers, whoo. Anyhow, a very nice man. Very nice man. Approachable. I'm not saying negative things, but. So, let's go on. We're almost done for the day.
Business with the federal government. It even said that I couldn't do business with the federal government, or otherwise I couldn't run. Totally unconstitutional, but that's the kind of crap we got to alleviate and remove down there. Yes, sir. Well, what happened in 2020 was ridiculous. You know, Robert Woodruff in business that owned Coca-Cola said, if anybody steals from you, it's your fault. And we have 2 people that are running for governor, as far as I'm concerned, that made a deal with the devil and put us in a situation like that. And thank God that Governor Kemp passed a bill in 21, and I think that went a long way. But here's the bottom line: we have to make sure that everybody feels like our elections are integrity and that they work, and we can't ever give up in auditing, researching, and so forth to make sure, because you need to feel good about that. So what happened back then was despicable, but anyway, I think we've had it now. Okay, I haven't had a
Now, you couldn't hear the question because they hadn't put a microphone in the audience at that time. But the guy asked him his opinion of the 2020 election basically being stolen in Georgia. What happened in 2020? Two people made a deal with the devil, okay, running for governor, Burt Jones and Brad Raffensperger. Thank God Governor Kemp passed a bill in 2021. I think we got it now. I just have to say, in all due respect, I wouldn't have put myself out there in Pickens County or in other places till I can handle this. I mean, if you don't want to go down the road and get over the top controversial, whatever, but to like, I didn't know I was coming to Jasper this morning. I'm going to get pushback. The campaign's going to come after me and say he's only been doing it for 4 weeks. What do you expect? You know what? I expect you not to continue to put out President Trump's name over and over and over and over. And if you don't know that the FBI took the ballots out of Fulton County, if you don't know Fonnie Willis falsely accused President Trump and tried to put him in prison, I mean, the list goes on. He probably is aware of it, but if you can't articulate and you fall back with, I think we're okay now. All right, so I only have a couple more and we'll wrap up for the day.
lady answer a question. Now, the only comment I have on those ads is how come he hasn't answered the legitimate issues. Look, I'm telling you, I see some stuff that are just plain crooked down there. When you basically pass bills to help you personally, and it ain't just one, it's many places. There was a bill last night that they were trying to pass to keep me from running, that by my opponent, that wanted me to, and I told the press, hey, look, he needs the government to make money. I don't. But that was a Biden kind of concept of Trump, trying to keep him off the ballot. You look it up, it's HB 1362 that was done by them to keep me from running. I don't need a government contract. I could care less about that. But it even said that I couldn't do business with the federal government, or otherwise I couldn't run. Totally unconstitutional, but that's the kind of crap we got to alleviate and remove down there. Yes, sir.
Okay, what he's talking about are the ads. Georgians for Integrity Project, the ads they're running. And he says what he sees down there is crooked bills being passed for personal gain. Now, I will tell you this. There's one thing I have picked up. I may have picked up 2 or 3, but one thing I've picked up. He does not like Burt Jones. Now, I get it. But he does not like Burt Jones. When he talks about Burt Jones, the man, he gets a little forceful on it. I pick up. Now, he has never said, quote, I don't like Burt Jones, but I picked that up. He doesn't like him. Now, I have my reasons that I have a problem with Burt Jones, and I do. But here's what I know. I've been told, I have to be careful with this. Attorneys are always standing by. Everybody's litigious. But I understand Marty Kemp dislikes Burt. That's what I hear. I hear Marty Kemp dislikes Burt. And if Marty dislikes Burt, that means Brian has to, right? He has to. Or she'll change the locks on the governor's office. I'm sorry. If Brian doesn't do what Marty says, she'll change the locks on the governor's office. She will not invite him to the next press conference, and she will not let him participate in any more photo ops. Yeah, that's just me. But that's what I hear. Now, but I also hear that they don't want to give up, quote, the governor's office per se. Now, Clark Dean is not their guy. Chris Carr is not their guy. And Brad Raffensperger is not their guy. Now, I have heard, this is a while back, and I'm just saying, I'm putting it out here, this is politics, that there's been hope that someone else would get into the race. And trust me, I'm not implying anything. I don't know anything. I know nothing. I know nothing. Clip that. Oh my God, you'll have a field day with that, won't you? Clip that. You can clip that, use that. Look at all the places you could use that. But anyhow, I know he gets really upset when it comes to Burt Jones. And I know this, I don't want Kemp 3.0. I personally don't as a voter. So let's go on.
Endorsing anybody except myself, but but since you've got a holster there, I'm going to respect your question. And so here's the bottom line. We're not going to win this Senate race if I'm not running for governor. That's my opinion. That's the only chance we have, because we have to have people that are excited about a candidate in order they show up, because that's the second vote that they're going to have. And it's ridiculous that we've lost these Senate races. They're going to have more money than God. I know that. But if we could have a good general election and create some excitement and so forth, I think that will help whoever's going to end up running. Yes, sir. Okay, right here. Okay.
So he is obviously, the campaign's starting to put out there that he has to be at the top of the ticket. He has asked the question, do you support, endorse any of the Republican candidates out there running for the Senate? Wise answer there. I'm only endorsing myself, but he's telling you the only chance they have, and this will be part of their campaign, to win the Senate is for him to be at the top of the ticket. Remember last week we had a poll. We're not claiming polls are accurate, always remember, but there was a poll out there that wanted to lead you to believe that if Burt Jones ran against Keisha Lance Bottoms, he didn't stand a chance. All right.
He's older than you, so he gets envy of the rest of the United States. We cannot wait on the federal government to do it.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes, sir.
A lot of our bills are being written by lobbyists. For the most part, in Georgia, under the dome, lobbyists are writing the bills. I've heard you speak several times. I watched the political machine from top to bottom. They're very upset with you. What changes would you make there where we could flip it back to the bills are for the people, not for the lobbyists?
Well, so very good point. First of all, so when I went down there, I was like, I don't know what your guess is. I would say I'm going to be charitable and say that 15% of the bills are actually read by the people that vote. Is that
That's
unfair?
accurate.
That's accurate, okay, all right. She has a MAGA hat on, so she must know what she's talking about. No, my point is that I really believe that they need to have more administrative people helping them to go through these bills, to summarize, just like they do in Congress. Now, I know that's a little bit of overhead, but at least they won't be passing crappy stuff. I've seen bills, they say, it's going to do this, and I call, I won't tell you who I called, but I called them and I said, what are you trying to do with this bill? And they said, so-and-so, you know, help foster families and so forth like that, private school. And I said, well, it doesn't actually do that. Did you read the bill? It doesn't, it doesn't do it. I'm not going to support it because it's not going to actually work and so forth like that. I think they need more administrative help in order to do that, not to be relying. But I am telling you something, we're not going to do things because of lobbyists. We have to do our own homework. I would rather them prepare and do it right than just to put a bunch of stuff on there. I'm telling you, they're going to pass stuff, it's going to come out in politics. It's, oh, I did this, I did that. Passing a bill or suggesting a bill doesn't do anything. It doesn't cut income tax, it doesn't do anything. And so, as a business person, I don't know about you, that's just a waste of time and a waste of breath. So, I will guarantee you they need to read the bills. I'm going to require it. I'm also going to require this accountability part on every bill. It's going to be a standard part of it.
Okay, I'm not aware of who it was in the crowd that asked that question. Someone in the crowd asked the lobbyist question. Anyhow, you know, I think those kind of questions are appropriate. He is the one that said, I played it earlier, rigged, political class, media propping it up, and lobbyists propping it up, and he called it a cartel out of his own mouth. So, I mean, I for one didn't think that answer was strong enough as far as lobbyists, because I'll tell you why. The medical field has a lot of lobbyists. No matter what field you're in, there's a lot of lobbyists that work nationally to get laws written to favor different businesses, whether it be staffing agencies, whether it be big pharma, whatever it may be. I would have liked for that answer to be a little stronger. I want to take the state of Georgia away from the lobbyist. I really do. And like I said, that's the reason I asked that question, is I opened up and told you. He had me at cartels. He had me when he went, it's rigged, it's political class, they're corrupt, the media props them up, the lobbyists do their part, prop them up, it's a cartel. So, just saying.
Part of, so you can go to any doctor you want to and so forth like that. And when it comes to healthcare, I know that we all believe, I'm not interested in being a professional victim as a state. The federal government's not going to solve our healthcare problem, but I'm going to solve it here in Georgia. It's interesting, that's not a big issue right now. When you ask what people are thinking about, affordability and some of these things is really important, healthcare didn't come up, but healthcare is an affordability issue. The problem is you can't find anybody in the state legislature, and I mean this with no disrespect, they can't hardly spell healthcare. They don't understand it. I am telling you, if in the first term, if this is not the most affordable state for healthcare, I will quit because I'm going to think how they failed. But I know how to solve this problem. Even though we're in the staffing business, I know every part about healthcare, the perverse incentives, the unnecessary costs and so forth like that. So we're going to reduce the cost and do a lot of things right here in Georgia. And I think we're going to be the envy of the rest of the United States. We cannot wait on the federal government to do it.
Mr. Jackson,
Healthcare. He was asked a question about healthcare. When asked, because that's what they're doing, He has a big staff calling, finding out they have a lot of money to spend. So they're making a lot of phone calls and doing surveys on what the voter trigger points are. And he said, when asked, believe it or not, it's not a big issue. I would tend to disagree with that. Now, when he talks about health care, the rising cost of health care, when you start talking about property tax, I mean, you know, I could help this guy. Easy there, easy. But look, you want to talk about property tax? Go sit in a county commission meeting and see how many people that one county, one school board, one city, how many people their health care is being paid for, right? With what they call a Cadillac plan. And I'm not saying, not getting into the battle of who should get health care, right? Go see how many people get that health care and how many commissioners, call a commissioner and say, what in your budget is the largest increase in the past 10 years? And they're going to tell you healthcare premiums. Largest increase, healthcare premiums. Now, go call the GMA and the ACCG. Ask them this question. That's the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia, and the Georgia Municipal Association, all your cities are a member of. So you ask yourself, okay, you have rural counties, it's not a full-time job. You got a post commissioner. Post commissioner, 1 or 2 meetings a month. They get $800. They go out there, they campaign, they spend a bunch of money campaigning. Then, for the most part, if you look around, a lot of them are seniors. You have, for the most part, a lot of them are older people running for city council, running for mayor, running for county commissioner, just saying, okay? Why? For $800 a month? No, they get health care. They get health care. That's right. Just saying, they get health care. I mean, you got to look at the whole picture. So when he talks about health care, and he said, you know, and then he keeps saying if he can't fix it, he will quit. So we have another issue there that, and let's see if this is the last one.
Common sense. We can't be passing bills just because somebody gave me money. I mean, it happens. Governor Kemp has never done that, but I'm telling you, there's some politicians down there that's the number one filter they look at when they make a political comment. What will my donors think? I'm going to care less what a donor thinks about it. I'm going to do what the right thing is, restore common sense. We're going to ban DEI and reverse discrimination and focus on merit.
So he invoked Governor Kemp twice in a way that my ears perked up. He invoked Governor Kemp on the 2020 election bill, and then he said, Governor Kemp has never done that. Governor Kemp has never done that. Well, so I understand. I'm not telling people they got to go out and just campaign and bash Governor Brian Kemp. I get that. There is polling out there that says that people don't want to hear that. I'm going to tell you there is, right? So I get that. So I'm not asking any campaign to go do that. That's up to you. But at least know where you're at in the audience that is sitting out there. Now, people enjoyed him. I'm going to give him. I'm going to go back to the A I gave him earlier today. All right. I'm gonna go back to the A that I gave him earlier today, where he took any question. I will give him that. The questions were not pre-planned. I've gone to, let me give you the plus side of what this guy did that I really like. I've gone to so many political events where he's basically circled by a team. I've actually, Kelly Loeffler used to have her team go out in the crowd and pick the people for her questions. Anybody that had their hand up, he tried to take about every question he could. And then after he took questions, he stayed. He stayed for another 45 minutes. He had a hot dog. He talked to everybody there. Anybody that wanted to shake his hand, say hello, take a picture, he stayed. I will give him that. 45 minutes after he got done. And then he went inside and he met, all the staff at Appalachian Gun and Pawn, and the owners. So I will give him that. Now, as they say in politics, if you can't stand the sight of your own blood, get out of the race. Now, Brian Jack, the congressman of the 3rd District, endorsed Burt Jones Saturday. Congressman Brian Jack in the 3rd District endorsed Burt Jones Saturday. And Burt Jones doing a little punching back. Billboard blitz. Campaigns are increasingly embracing artificial intelligence. Burt Jones' campaign on Monday launched a mobile billboard circulating throughout Metro Atlanta, directing voters to a website. The website is called SlickRickJackson.com. Rick Jackson has spent $1 million trying to buy this race and reinvent himself as a conservative, but his record tells a different story. Jones spokesperson Kylie Lott said in a statement. Now, here you go. Burt Jones has launched this website, SlickRickJackson.com. Meet the real Rick Jackson. Help doctors who transition children. DEI champion. Presenting the real Rick Jackson. Then you'll see when you go there, helps doctors provide transgender treatment for minors. Jackson recruits doctors to provide transgender treatment to prison inmates. Rick Jackson, the DEI champion. Now, I'm not validating. I have not been able to validate anything on this website. I have not. I want to be clear. And but I did go through it. Proud Planned Parenthood partner. And then the bottom of it, sorry about coughing in your ear. Sorry about that. Slick Rick. That's all, folks. And it's paid for by Burt Jones for governor. Slick Rick. That's all, folks. Paid for by Burt Jones for governor. Now, this morning, I actually thought this was Not, well, when I say a joke, rather than standing on his record, this is a comment that the Jackson campaign, or the Burt Jones, this is the comment from Jackson's campaign to Greg Bluestein at the AJC. Rather than standing on his record, fighting like an honest man, and earning the trust and support of Georgians, Burt Jones is resorting to what he knows best, cheap and dirty politics. The opening of a defamation lawsuit Rick Jackson filed against Burt Jones. So apparently, and here is Burt Jones' spokesperson at the top, Kyla, right? Kyla Lott, is that her name? I'm sorry if I get it wrong there. Rick Jackson, thin-skinned, is showing. Why is Rick so embarrassed to have received $1 billion in state contracts, help Planned Parenthood recruit and staff a pediatric doctor's office that serves transgender patients? He should be proud. Georgia knows how his company made his money. This thing is going to, wow. Then I thought, I really did. I thought maybe this is a joke. You can go read it for yourself. Oh, this is just one part of it. In Superior Court of Fulton County, Richard L. Jackson, plaintiff, William Burton Jones, and Burt Jones for Governor, Incorporated. Plaintiff, Richard L. Jackson, plaintiff, or Jackson files original complaint against defendants William Burton Jones, the Burt Jones for Georgia, Inc., the campaign, and together with Jones defendants for defamation and libel, and in support thereof respectfully shows as follow. Now, it looks like Jackson takes a page out of Trump's playbook. I mean, if you got the money, you just sue him. I don't know. Burt Jones, the story of a desperate man who ran out of honest opinions. Burt Jones had every advantage. Burt Jones is still losing. Okay, I mean, a lot happening here. So you can go read this lawsuit. I was like, okay. See what, I have one more from Rick Jackson's defamation file, and again, Burt Jones in Georgia. Governor's race. Rick Jackson's life is the stuff of American dreams. Jones was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. Mr. Jones, start fighting like an honest man, not a loser. Wow. So, let me show you something else. Let's not forget this guy's in the race. I know, that upset you. Brad Raffensperger. Some of the folks in this race are just obsessed with the past. I'm solely focused on Georgia's future. Brad Raffensperger. Now, this is the campaign he ran, and the only reason I'm bringing this up, this is a little bit of a... This is the campaign Brad ran in the past. He doesn't do your traditional... Here's one of them. I had the privilege of speaking to Augusta Rotary to discuss work I've done to make Georgia the safest state in the nation to cast a ballot. Now, wait a minute. I understand. Before you throw tomatoes at me, I'm going to tell you what. He gets a full room. Here's another one. This is the Raffensperger campaign model. Thank you to the Rotary Club of Marietta for a warm welcome. Just saying. This is another one. It was a great day in Paulding County yesterday. I started the day meeting with Sheriff's Office, spoke with the Paulding County Chamber. Brad also put this out. Brad for governor. No transgender mutilation surgery for children, period. No transgender mutilation surgery for children. Sorry about that. All right. And then, so, I want to ask you a question. Got a phone call yesterday. Got a phone call yesterday. Did you go see Jackson Saturday? Yes. What did you think? And I shared with this individual. I said, well, I have not decided this is who I'm voting for. I'm not decided I'm voting for Rick Jackson. I like him. I don't know how he's going to do with young voters. I don't know how he's going to do with women voters. I don't know how he's going to do in South Georgia. I don't know how he's going to do when it comes to the issues. He has a great story. But I like he's in the race, okay? I'm still open to him. I think he's a sincere, honest guy. I think it's not my place to call honest. I got to leave that. Not that he's dishonest. I'm going to be careful. I don't know him well enough to start making these kind of judgments. So, but I said, let me ask you a question, okay? Let's say this. Let's go with this, right? Let's say, please stop throwing the damn rotten tomatoes at me, okay? Just stay with me on this. Don't judge me. Let's say 2020 there was a crime. Let's say the election was stolen in 2020. Flat out stolen. It's a crime. If that's the case, allegedly, it's litigious out there. Attorneys are standing by. If that's the case, allegedly, you have three candidates. You have the candidate in the glasses that you feel participated in the crime. You have the candidate that is a client for Hair Club for Men. Sorry. Chris Carr, who did not prosecute anyone related to the crime. And then you have the one in the middle that has not done, in my book, anything to prevent the crime from ever happening again. So let's just say for the story, allegedly, you have the crook, you have the prosecutor that turned his head, and you have the guy that didn't fix the future. Just saying, allegedly, possibly, just, let's say that could have happened. Then you have Rick Jackson. Then you have Clark Dean. Don't want to leave Clark Dean out. All right, so in wrapping up this morning, this is a no in the 1st District. I don't have time. This is a no. This is Jack Kingston's son, Jim Kingston. All right? No. Whatever you do in the 1st District, do not send Jim Kingston. Whatever you want to do, whatever other candidate out there, do not send Jim Kingston to Congress. Okay? Next. We told you this earlier. SK Battery is cutting 1,000 jobs. 1,000 jobs cut by SK Battery. Then we have Houston. There is a problem, Houston. Houston, you got a problem over there in the 10th District. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Then we have Republican Rep. Kylie leaves GOP, tightening Johnson's margin. This California rep left the GOP today and is registering as an independent. Right? Okay. So, Tomorrow's election day in the Georgia 14th District. I got a couple notes here I have to get out. Tomorrow's election day in the Georgia 14th District. All right? Tomorrow night, you know, Nikki Lama's a good candidate. He really is. Young man from over in Dalton. But tomorrow night in the 14th District, Sean Harris, the Democrat, should claim a top spot because there'll be a runoff. If Clay Fuller, Donald Trump's endorsed candidate, does not make the runoff, we'll leave it there. All eyes on the 14th tomorrow, right? Then we have, you do know, Arizona election records. Follow that, right? And gas prices. President Trump, when asked, said it was a small price to pay. A small price to pay. Gas prices. Wow. Folks, SB 303 is sitting down there. It's been sitting there all along. If you have any candidates or you have any events, let me know. A lot of these candidates, realistically, they're trying to run under the radar. They want to fix the rooms. They do. They want to set the rooms up. They don't want people to come. Some people. If you know of any events or you know where Rick Jackson's going to be, Burt Jones is going to be, Brad Raffensperger is going to be. I'd like to go to one of these events with Brad Raffensperger. Anywhere across the state, just let me know. Vora, Substack, Vora at BKP Politics, Voice of Rural America, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and X, and I think we'll call that a wrap. Oh, wait a minute. I did. I walked up to Mr. Jackson before he left, and I said it respectfully, folks, so don't yell at me. And I did. I said, Mr. Jackson, you're paying a lot of money. And these issues that these people are asking questions about, you're paying a lot of money to a team that should have you, where these questions shouldn't be so far off guard. And he said, well, I've only been doing this for 4 weeks. And I say, yeah, I understand that. And you're not a politician, but these people surrounding you are. And I'm gonna talk more about that team a little later in another broadcast.
What happens in Georgia gets revealed one by one as the facts are unsealed. From the pit comes what they don't want you to see. When the daily nugget of truth is dropped with your host, BKP.